seen a lot of then Snowmobile and then also then the bar being picked up, which isn't really known so much to a lot of people of the bar and that gaming room, but it did work very well, as I'm pretty sure even Infamy didn't use it. Like, use Kitchen Trophy as well.
Absolutely. Well, we are onto the first map, which of course will be Banks. We will save our discussion about Chalet for later on. For now, let's have a look at what's going to go down, starting out in Lockers and CCTV. Do you see a Vigil getting picked up? And we've seen him a couple of times last week, and to great effect. He's a very effective roamer because he can't really be droned out very easily. Let's
not forget that Bank is the biggest map in the entire game. It has a lot of sets of staircases. I believe it's actually, maybe, it's 3 sets of staircases, one in the lobby, that main stairs, and also then the server back stairs, and also the skylight stairs as well. So a lot of rotations, similar to the way we've seen with Consulate. And since it is a very big map, it's going to be very hard to pinpoint exactly where Vigil is. Remember, as Vigil, all they see is just these white bars come up against their screen. They can't actually see you. They can kind of guess where you are, but kind of sometimes doesn't really pay off unless you know exactly where he is.
It doesn't tell you the angle to run around the corner and spray and hope that you get the opening headshot, because he maybe starts somewhere completely different, and before you know it, when you're thinking, where is he going to be? Oh, there we go. There's a bullet in my head. I am now dead. But let's see if they can be able to bring an answer to Madman. Now, again, he wasn't the biggest standout performer last week. He was coined to be, but ultimately it was Mac who walked away as the big successor for them in their series. Let's see if he can step up today and match Nasher, because him and Nasher have been regarded quite often alongside Kinders as 3 of the biggest players in this tournament.
So looking at the way the Enyx are setting up for this defense, it seems to be that they want to limit Xenos pushing in towards that admin, the admin area, I think it is, open area. Yeah, open area, that's what it's called. And towards the open area where you'll see the attackers want the keen control of them hatches, and then most of them hatches, I believe one of them gains complete access to one of the bomb sites. But just having this presence upstairs really does put you off as an attacker, wanting to push in towards that open area, as you're always going to be cautious. Somebody's above me with a hatch open that I'm then going to get killed from.
Still trying to drone and take it nice and slow, which I think is probably the wise idea. They're aware that Vigil is lurking around. Well, he's Vigil, what on earth am I talking about? He's the one lurking around. But Willis knows that he's equally around himself.
He knows he passed
white bars, but he doesn't know exactly where he is. He's going to go for the peak. He's going to go for the run out there, because don't forget, they can still hear him. They know that he's in the area when he's moving, which means that if he goes for the run out, they're going to know exactly what he's trying to do and will be able to react as such.
I definitely think that they knew where he was. I know that Whiskers, he put his drone past, and then he came back because he discovered, okay, it's starting to die down. I've passed him. He must be inside this supply room. So then let's just try and push him out, use that drone. Again, Madman, he was cautious of his time running out, so then he went for the shot on the drone, and then flashbang started to come in, which is going to be one of the best ways to clear out roamers. But with these staircases, we're going to see the roam come out from Madman, and he drops Floki. It's going to be Thermite out of the picture, but then Whiskers also gets the straight out onto the Ayla. It's going to be Blitzstead.
Solid rotation all the way through office there, back out to the skylight stairs to pick him off on that first aggression round. And Willis had been upstairs for quite a while there before he got himself almost caught out, but now they have control of this area. They have skylight, they have the stairwell in their sight. Still probably wondering exactly where that Vigil is hovering, yet he's still hanging around. And he has burnt so much time. There is only 50 seconds left in this round.
Oh, the confrontation's going to go, and I think both of them might have whiffed their shots. I think Madman possibly a bit more, but that is going to be then the roamers out of commission for Enyx. But 30 seconds on the clock. Mira still has her C4, still has the mirror windows intact. Again, Echo Drone's always going to be a big factor coming down to these final couple of seconds in the round, and also Jaeger is going to be downstairs with that great 416 carbine, able to take on these attackers at range.
Actually crazy how much time they had to invest in that. There doesn't really seem to be anyone watching this angle except for off to the right-hand side through the kill holes that they've opened up. That's a great little view from Prem as well. This is beautiful, because they go for the plant. He can just go for an easy disrupt.
He needs to stop it. He needs to stop it. Is he going to get the stop? He is going to get the stop, and also get Thatcher in the process. 3 seconds to go. Matt gets the kill on the Kinders, but he misses as it goes up the hatch. And then it is going to be the Echo Drone coming in clutch, and Enyx get the first round on the board.
That's worrying that didn't even see it drop that down again. Hiding in the rubble was beautiful play. Double interruption.
I never seen that before.
Me neither, but that was great double interruption to be able to shut him out there. And a round well won for Enyx.
I think it does come down to the fact that how well Madman did on that room, wasting, I believe it was until about 45 minutes. It might be, I think it's 2 minutes 15 seconds. So 45 seconds for Xenos then start pushing the hatches, of course, so it was really interesting.
And let's not forget, that was 2 floors above where the bombs actually were. This was basically as far away as you could be from the points themselves, just causing chaos because they knew they had to deal with him, or else they would get flanked. They can't drone him out. They have to make sure they have vision on him, and in that case, well, you might as well try and kill him.
That's the thing about Bank. It has a lot of drop hatches, so then it does enable your defenders and they then start rotating down to the lower floors, and then they can easily just go straight back up the stairs and go down if they start get pressured again. It's just a complete rotating circle with the Roamers, what they can do on Bank. But still, I think that in general, hunting Vigil is going to be quite difficult, especially because he's still new. He's still new. A lot of teams don't play him on Xbox that much, but then we are going to see then a counter Vigil coming out from Xenos, and can TW do the same thing that Madman did? And again, if TW plays what he did last week, then we should see some pretty big plays out of him.
Well, I think that's probably why Enyx have opted to go for the Jackal here, just so they can keep tabs on where he is, because of course you cannot hide from that. It's almost like they anticipated this, so well read by them. Or maybe it's just the case in the last week, Vigil has become immensely popular, and Bank is the perfect map for it because, as you said, it's so big.
Still, Jackal, even though I remember whenever he did come out, his C7E was ridiculously overpowered. No recoil, the damage output was insane. Since then, he had a little bit of a nerf where the gun doesn't do nearly as much damage, and then also a little bit more side-to-side recoil, but the gun's still really good. I play a lot on ranked, as we do see Madman using that aggressive Ash like we always have seen him play time and time again, gets the kill onto that A lane, and we are going to see Mac push round and get the kill on the TW, and seems to be that Enyx has done what Xenos did last round, but 10 times better.
Even without the tracking from Jackal, he still managed to bring down the Vigil just by happening to catch him peeking his head out of that doorway window. Or doorway door, as you might want to call it. Anyway, Xenos down 2. Enyx 2 up, at least in this case. 1-0 on the scoreline so far. And they are in a great position because already they've dealt with the Roamers. They have the advantage to be able to push downstairs.
Habana's still alive.
They have everything available to them. They've got the double breach they want to go for it. They can push whatever they want to. Well, there's the Valkyries as well. So this making good use of this Jackal, playing quite aggressively in terms of trying to push down and find out anyone who's lurking.
Looking at Enyx, who they've also picked, they brought the IQ to the table. We don't see IQ played a whole lot because her gadget just isn't as effective unless you're against the right operators. Looking at what IQ is up against, you're up against Ela Mines, you're up against Valkyrie cameras, you're up against Vigil, you're up against ADSs, you're up against a pulse scanner. Everything that IQ could want to use her scanner for has been brought by Xenos.
Trying to do what he can with the grenade there, but not going to find it. Sees one run across, but Blitz a little bit slow on the uptake there to be able to bring him down. And almost scared to try and push down these stairs, it feels. The angle is being watched incredibly. They keep on spotting each other, but no one is going for the headshot to try and bring each other down, which means he's going to have to rotate away. They've only got 50 seconds left to play with.
But looking at the way Enyx are setting up, this is where now we're seeing the Enyx do split off, where they're going down in them last 45 seconds and they're trying to take these one-on-one fights, because coming down in the last couple of seconds, this is exactly where you want to start putting pressures. We do see a lot of kills go down. Madman gets the double kill. That's going to be Floki getting taken out with that shotgun, which he's a notorious shotgun user all the way back in Pro League. He was always known for using them shotguns, and he still does hold his name till today. But then Enyx are going to walk in the bomb site, and Whiskers is going to get finished off, as I think he was looking the wrong way, and Blitz does get an easy kill on to him.
Strong start for Enyx so
really
far.
Strong attack.
Yeah, very, very strong start in general, it feels, as well. Just countering the strategy they used perfectly well in the second round. Question now is, once again, how do the losers, in this case Xenos, how do they stack up? How do they change things around to bring this game back in their favor? And the answer by Enyx actually is, we're not going to sit to the same. We too are going to change things up.
This seems to be a similar start we've seen last week against Infamy, where they could possibly be on here for the 5-0. I don't want to say it yet, because anything can happen still, but they could be on for the 5-0. Looking at where they're going next, it is going to be that top floor bomb site, which I really like as a bomb site. Again, you don't have to worry about any vertical play, don't have to worry about any drop hatches, as it's going to be a top floor bomb site. You'll see mirrors being picked, you'll see castles being picked. This is down to just shut out anybody wanting to play across towards that big top garage, which you may see some people still out there. May it be an operator with an ACOG, which is probably the best suit, or even a Glaz you might see the odd time, as it does make Glaz very powerful, as he's able to see directly into the site. But having them castle barricade shut that down, and then it does give this mirror window free range that Havix is going to start reinforcing, where I'm sure then the mirror is going to come and put one of them down.
taking the castle instead, opting to pretty much secure B as best they can. Maybe it works out for them. They have left that one side open, so it's going to shut off at least the main lobby attack, but doesn't mean that they have that safety from corridor. It means they're going to have to keep a few eyes on that. But let's see if Xenos can be able to at least get their first point on the board. Down to 0. It's not been the safest start, well, not been the best start they would have hoped for.
This is an interesting spawn location for Xenos. You don't really see everybody spawn towards that garage entrance. You'll see most of them spawn towards that back alley or even the plaza windows, as plaza windows then it gives you great access up on towards them B windows as well, and also the A windows. But spawning all towards that garage area lets me know that they want to try and take control of downstairs. Because if you didn't know, downstairs is destructible from, if you're looking up and down like we've talked about a lot on Cafe and then also Consulate. Bringing this buck in, he's able to go free range and start tearing up all of these anchors inside these bomb sites, specifically that mirror window, of course. And it is a very peculiar strategy, a very niche strategy, as a lot of teams would rather push in through the skylight and then start thermiting off the walls. So let's see if it will work. Haven't seen this done yet.
It's definitely interesting option to go through for the floor. With no real way of knowing who's upstairs unless you get some drones in there, then it's quite risky because you leave yourself very exposed. All the angles that you open up, usually it kind of favors the aggressors from upstairs shooting down because of the angles that they have around those points. It's like trying to shoot through a drop hatch, and in this case, Franksy keeping himself pretty safe upstairs on that smoke. Of course, has that denial if he needs it with the smoke grenades. But once again, a very slow start to this round. Half gone, and Xenos have yet to really do, well, anything.
I think that Xenos seem to fit in more of the slow, methodical play style of a team where they want to check out, see what's happening, and then try and play off that. At this stage, they seem to want to try and take control of this lobby balcony and then try and just force their way in, getting rid of these castle barricades. But then again, that A bomb site is going to be a really good area for Smoke to sit down, as he can then start gassing out this double barricade, of course. And also that long corridor room could be an angle that some defenders could also use to get an angle on anybody running in. But at this stage, Xenos are only really using a one-way system, and they are starting to get punished for it.
It does feel like it's hurting them quite a bit, and well, this was meant to be a clash of titans, as we said. This is going to be the one big hit.
Great shot.
Great line up there as well. It always feels constantly we're seeing players miss little opportunities like that, but that was one that Willis took well, and at least they get themselves a kill. And in a 4v1 situation, I can't see him bringing this round back, but we have seen crazier things.
Well, he does get another kill in onto Blitz, but Madman is going to be lying down, I believe, in a dead body. Well, the fallen member, I think it was a dead body.
No, it wasn't a dead body. It's because of the view that you have. You can't see anything past the sight.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing this in Pro League, I think, actually. It was on a window outside Consulate. Someone jumped out, but because someone was underneath the site, they couldn't see them. Just got sprayed up.
Yep.
Basically, the same thing happened there.
Happens to me a lot on ranked.
Looking a little bit too high. It is very frustrating, but alas, it happens. Gets himself caught out. Enyx at the 3-0. Xenos yet to get anything on the scoreboard, and Willis really is the only member showing live. Kinders, he was one of the standout players last week. Joint top kills at 21. So far has yet to get a single kill on the board in any 3 of these rounds.
I feel as if that last attack, I liked what they were going to do, but they didn't even bring the buck downstairs. They didn't even bring the buck in towards that Tellers and Archives area. They just put him upstairs in a position where he wasn't useful. If they possibly brought him downstairs, he could have then started opening up that B site, opening up the A site, and start getting rid of them anchors, of course, and then possibly have 2 people downstairs playing off them different angles that they can use, which it could have possibly helped that push in. I liked what they were doing, trying to go for a different angle approach, but if you're going to push in from that west side, that A bomb site needs to be taken, because head glitching behind that bomb inside A is just a GG situation from there, especially as a Smoke who's able to, and has the SMG-11 and also has them gas grenades, of course, to stop any push.
I feel like we've said it every single round so far, but Xenos really needs to get a point on the board here, because this is looking pretty dire. And we've seen last time the momentum swing across to the other side, with Fable kind of coming back and taking the second map. But with how things look so far, Xenos don't even really show signs of life. I mean, Enyx have lost 1 or 2 members in every round, and that's it. They've never even come close to losing the round.
No, it seems to be that Xenos just aren't having their flow as we did see them last week. I believe we did see them go in a deficit before, where it was Radix taking the lead, and then Xenos was managed to bring it back. Will we see the same thing coming out from them, or will Enyx do what they did to Infamy last week and just completely shut them down? No comebacks for you. We are getting this 5-0. We are getting a quick, easy win, quick, easy points, and then we'll go and beat in the next map, which I'm sure that's probably the mentality of Enyx.
you kind of feel like your pride may be a bit dented when you know you're like the reigning champions in a sense, and you find yourself getting beaten out by a team like Infamy, who, of course, no offense, are probably not one of the stronger teams in the tournament. And they almost, for Enyx, probably feel like they have something to prove here to show why they were last season's champions. The thing is, with most people that are good at games, or I said teams that are good, it's consistency, and that's what we need to start seeing.
That's one thing about Enyx, is that they are so consistent, but Blitz, I believe he did miss quite a lot of shots in that scenario.
They both missed a lot of shots.
Yeah, I think Blitz more, as we do see Whiskers walking away with only just a little bit of health, just a sliver. But then he is going to rotate downstairs and does get revived. So that's going to be IQ off the board. So it does make this pulse a lot more scarier, as then he is not going to be able to get spotted out whenever he is using that pulse scanner.
And he's going to try and have some tabs on where he is. Going to go Jaeger hunting, it feels like, which sounds a lot more fun than it probably is. Trying to peek around the corner, seeing who you can find. Mac is looking downstairs, got Madman support at the very least for this drop hatch. With only a minute and 15 left, though, and it's got to make a move soon, or they'll find themselves in a very dangerous situation, as we saw previously, where they were kind of struggling to, you know, pushing for the final few points. It's more Xenos that has struggled with that so far. For Enyx, we've seen teams do it time and time again, where they leave it to the final 30 seconds before they push, and as soon as they see any form of resistance, they panic. They don't have enough time to rotate and make a different play or try something new. They have to stick to what they've tried, even if it turns out to be a terrible idea. 50
seconds on the board left for Enyx. Time is starting to tick down. So they now have to start pushing these drop hatches, start clearing out that server area, as we have seen them do last time. But I believe previously we had the Pulse sitting downstairs, also supported by that Valkyrie shotgun. And at this stage, they have an equal man advantage. I say that as Vine does get taken out by Madman, as now it is going to be down to the last 3 remaining defenders for Xenos. 25 seconds to go, still plenty of time, and no smoke on the other teams. That's going to make Enyx's job a lot easier.
Quite surprised they didn't take the smoke, because especially on the server side, it's so easy to shoehorn the attackers out. If they try and push through the door, which is a very, very common plant spot, usually you thermite one of these walls away going and basically plant where Havoc's is right now. Smoke would have been perfect, but it doesn't matter, because finally there is some life coming from the Xenos side. So 1 versus 1.
Oh, he's going to do it!
Gets the clutch and brings it to 4-0.
That is exactly why he was named one of the best players on the game, because 3 seconds ago, and he clutched up the last 9 seconds of that round. He clutched up the round and has put his team match point.
So close there, it felt, for Xenos as well, getting 3 kills. Getting the diffuser down almost as well, perfectly in the right place. Again, breaching open that wall, planting it just inside, and then using the server room in the stairs and the tunnel, of course, for cover. It felt like it was all going right. And then Madman does what he does best and just runs right through the enemy team. He's only on 9 kills, so not quite a Kimbe just yet, my friend, but definitely starting to step up and bring your team like kicking and screaming through this. But to be fair to all of them, they are playing very, very well.
9 kills in 4 rounds, still respectable.
Absolutely.
It's still I believe it's 2 kills per round then.
If you're getting even like 1.5 kills per round, you are a notable contribution to your team. To be getting above 2, that's a sign of a carry. That's someone who's really stepping up and taking this game, but you know, grabbing the ball by the horns and just charging with it. One
thing that I also noticed in the scoreboard is that TW and Kenders, arguably the 2 best players for Xenos last week, still yet to get a kill.
Yep. Well, Kenders, I think it was Cryptic who was second best for them. I can't fully remember.
I believe, pretty sure it was, because he did clutch up quite a lot of rounds with that Thatcher. I believe it was one big round he had a really good clutch.
Yeah, like I said, Kinders, he had 21 kills, joint top with Proxy last week, has yet to do anything, which is concerning. Players will fluctuate between weeks. They will have weeks where they just play super well because they're super motivated. It's like me and my introduction to the stream today. It was terrible today. Last week it wasn't so bad. You just have those days where some days it's great and some days it's not so great. And these things happen. But that's where you're meant to be able to rely on certain members of your team to really kind of step up and go, look, you did last week's work, now it's my turn. That's what we saw from Kimbe in the last game. We need to see that from some members of Xenos here. Otherwise, it's going to be an Enyx roadshow all the way through.
This is still only the first map, so they still do have that in the win, okay. Second map, it's Chalet. It's a map which were more suited, though, even though they did pick Bank, which is crazy to think that they're 4-0 down on the map they picked. But then, looking at Chalet, I think that will favour both teams, as Chalet usually favours both teams, as it's very easy to play. A lot of teams like it being out since release, of course, and the strats are formed, but at this moment, Xenos just aren't getting in the way of things. I'm sure that they probably haven't played Bank in quite some time, because I know that they don't scrim as much as Enyx do, of course. So definitely looking at the part of Xenos, I think more time to go over some of the maps, and even though you don't have to go full strats as they do to the run out from Madman, even just a little bit of time, even just a quick 10-minute session, have an idea or for at least one bomb site what you're going to do.
It's very interesting seeing a lot of teams starting to run this double roam of the Ella and the Vigil in 1-2. I mean, we've seen it a few times. There we go. Blitz watching the angle, almost ready for that crouch as well, because he was aiming for that crouch headshot height, wasn't worrying too much about some walking around stood up. So well read, but it looks like Enyx just a couple more kills away from taking this first map 5-0.
At this stage, Kenders and Floki are not even in the building. They're not even in a position to start getting hatches off, start pushing out roamers. Finally, Floki does manage to enter through, but did you see the Vigil hiding inside that open area table? Look where he is. He is so close. Is he going to stand up and see Floki? I think Floki heard him, but Madman is going to get the better off him. And it does fall down to Kenders, one of the best players last week to clutch us up. He is looking to get the kill on the mirror, but that's not going to be the case. And Enyx are going to take the round, and they take the first map 5-0.
Well, very, very solid first start by Team Enyx, but let's not forget, this is exactly what we saw last week, and then Infamy turned around and basically wiped them clean. So I'm very, very keen to see if the same happens here, or if they go on to win this one out on both maps 5-0, because that would send a very, very strong statement to the rest of the league.
It was a great, great showing, especially looking that it was Xenos' map, which was really, really impressive. Enyx being able to do that on somebody else's map, which we have seen time and time again. Of course, the curse of week 1 we're coming back to again. Looking at Chalet, you'd like to favour Enyx, but after the way Enyx played last week in Chalet, it could go either way. I'm
not so sure if last week was Enyx playing the map bad, or if it was just Infamy playing it exceptionally well.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Yeah. I'll agree with you there. I'll meet you in the middle. I think that's a fair play for both sides to agree to disagree on different points and agree on others. However, like you say, that is the next one coming up. Do you think maybe they've gone back and watched what they saw last week and noticed how probably, how hard they got rolled on that map and thinking, right, what did we make mistake-wise last week? What really worked against us? What are other teams going to be able to capitalise on?
I spoke to Mac after the game, and he said, yes, I did. I asked him, did you go back and watch your game in Chalet? What happened? He said, silly mistakes, we beat ourselves. That's what he said. We beat ourselves. As we do head into some highlights, is just looking at just the Madman getting another double kill. That was very early on into the round, and he really needed to make that, as I believe then if he did get that kill, then Xenos were definitely in the situation to win that round.
Absolutely. Well, here is some, of course, the clips going through. Madman going on a bit of a rampage on this map overall, it felt like. Getting some really good kills. And to be fair for Willis, he did step up at points. And I think he came out as the top fragger for his team. So it definitely wasn't his worst performance. It just felt that the team wasn't really up there with him today and up this to try and win. Because if everyone played like Willis did, I think Xenos would have won this one. But as always, there are players who in some weeks will play better than others. They will stack up much better than others. These things happen.
Yeah, everybody has a bad day. But see, whenever multiple people have a bad day, then you start to worry.
Well, let's see, of course, if that bad day carries across into the next map. We saw last time round what happened between OneUp and Fable when he got turned around completely. I'm very keen to see if they can do exactly the same. Maybe someone else is waiting in the shadows just saying, you know what, I'm going to stay quiet for the first map. Let's make these casters think we're out of this. And then suddenly, bam.
It's just a prank.
Exactly. We're here to crush Chalet. We're here to show that it doesn't matter. We can win this one as well. Turn Chalet into Enyx's nightmare is, I imagine, what a lot of them are going for. What really surprised me, if nothing else, was that Enyx chose Chalet. Knowing how badly they played last week, they're probably thinking, we need to show we can play this map. Otherwise, teams will just keep on exploiting that time and time again.
They definitely have worked in Chalet, because, a little insider, I joined their party, and they were running through Chalet strats, and they told me, leave.
This is serious, Demo. Come on, man. We're not talking rubbish on Twitter today. We are practicing Chalet to the extreme.
So I know they have learned from their mistakes, hopefully. We'll see.
Well, the world is watching. This is your stage, ladies and gents. This is where they want you to see, of course, if they can turn it around and show us what they're made of on Chalet. We'll be zooming into game right now. In fact, I was about to say in just a second, but it turns out in a second was at that exact moment. Kinders, we need to see him step up and show us what he's made of as well, because he has been incredibly quiet this week.
I know that Kinders, he played really big last week, but this week, maybe something's happened this week. Again, like we were talking about, good players doing bad. We seen, who was it from? I believe it was. We were talking about Willow from OneUp. He had a pretty good game last week. He was pretty stable as a consistent player. This week, not so much. So maybe Kinders is having that same kind of effect.
Yeah.
But at this stage, hopefully he should waken up, as, again, he's on Ayla this time, and Chalet is a really big roam map. We know he's a capable roamer. We've seen him do it last week, of course. We've seen him getting an outrageous kill on the pony last week, which was one of my favourites as well. So hopefully he can start doing the business for his team.
Absolutely. Well, Chalet is a very interesting map because, again, that verticality, especially when playing upstairs, because so much of the floor is destructible, in and around bar and gaming as well. I think you always actually said we don't really see too much kitchen defense, but we're seeing that come through right now.
I think, personally, we didn't see any kitchen and trophy last week is because Infamy and Enyx just played really weird. They decided to go for the gaming room and bar, and they decided to go for then that snowmobile. I definitely feel that Xenos aren't the strat-heavy team. They're more the go-with-the-flow kind of guys. They're just, okay, do you want to try this? Yeah, sure, let's go for it, which is that kind of mentality. But again, every team has that mentality. We talked about Vex. They have it where they just say, what do you want to do? Yeah, we'll push that. Let's see what happens. Which, it works for some teams, and some teams then you do get punished by teams such as Enyx who put in that time and effort, know what to do, know the exact positions they need to be, and start clearing out some of them roamers.
For a cheeky C4, they're hoping to catch someone out, but no one is going to be there.
That was lucky. He could have got that. It was
a few seconds either side, and he could have caught someone out for sure.
Yeah.
I think go on, sorry.
No,
go on.
No, I was ripping me.
Mate, come on. As an elder, I'm giving you permission to speak. Take the opportunity.
Looking at that kind of play where he went for that C4, I used to do it quite a lot as a pulse player, where you can sit there, pulse, see if someone goes for repel, and then it is a very easy kill. Maybe if he did play the pulse rather than the Valkyrie, then it could have been better.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention a second ago before we had our clash, is that for Enyx it feels like, for the most part, all of their players are stepping up and providing something. A lot of the other teams, it's been one or two players stepping up each week. For example, it always jumps out for me that for Infamy last week, it was Nath who really popped off.
Yeah.
For Vex, it was Proxy who really stepped up in it. And for today, for one of them, it was Kimbe. For Enyx, it feels like a lot of their members step up and perform consistently. And consistency, again, is one of the big defining factors of a strong team. But speaking of a strong team, they're being dismantled in this first round of Chalet.
Seems to be that Enyx opted for this west main push. It's a strat which I'm not used to them doing. The only kitchen trophy strat I'm only ever used to Enyx doing is where they bring 6 set of nades. They bring the IQ, they bring the buck, and then they bring the sledge, all operators with the use of frag grenades. And then they just destroy that entire trophy room, bring the buck down in the garage and start ripping it up from there. Then it's a quick jump in. Sometimes they bring the ink, sometimes they don't, and then they win that way.
Lots of assault coming through onto trophy right now. Not really much going on towards the main door. It seems to be that's where they want to try and fire for. Everyone goes charging in. Madman is on a rampage as always, bringing down the enemy team. He's going absolutely nuts, dropping pretty much everyone. There's one left standing. And Kinder's, once again, having very little impact in anything. Madman is just breezing past him today, whereas previously, it's been a very, very disjointed affair of both players having their share in their matches.
Yeah, Madman just stepping up once again. The momentum is carrying, but oh no,
wow, Mac.
Oh no. But the diffuser is going to be planted, and Madman knows he specifically planted it over holes in the ceiling, as you can see.
I was about to say, can he go for a quick diffuse here?
He could go for the long arm. Oh no. I don't even know what's going to happen next. Is Madman going to get it? He's going to miss it. And Whiskers is going to get the diffuse. I was expecting him to go downstairs.
I thought he was going to run up the stairs and pop back up through there once. As soon as he heard that going down, his plan was to sprint up there. But he went all the way outside, which was not only giving away your position, but it was a very heavy committal to trying to get someone through that window. And if you didn't get the angle, you were done for. There was no coming back from that. And, well, a bit of a thrown away round by Enyx after such a perfect first map. That was a bit of a misplay towards the end.
I think Mac was definitely the big factor. He's going to be kicking himself over that whiff. 100%. It was a really
Someone walks into the room with their back to you and you think, oh, this is a free kill.
I thought it was going to be easy. Mac had the angle on the crosses. No.
Well, not quite going to be his standout performance compared to last week. However, it has been Madman, who's looked pretty good so far on the first map and on the start of Chalet as well. Maybe he steps up. It's one of the. It feels really strange because these first 2 weeks have definitely been who's going to step up this map. It's not even this game or this series. It's literally every map changes.
Yeah, it seems to be that Xenos, I think they were very lucky. It was, they had an okay defense, but for some reason they started off strong, and then Enyx start picking them one by one, which is never a good sign. Whenever you have that two-man advantage, that is whenever, as a team, you just say, okay, nobody play aggressive, stop, hold an angle, and we'll see where we go from there. I think then they just start to get a wee bit too carried away.
Well, let's see if they choose to go for a trophy room push here, if they choose to look more towards kitchen. Kitchen obviously more accessible because you can push in there from main lobby. And I always really like the little cheeky aggressions we see coming from attackers sometimes, throwing nades and the like through the window, or even C4s catching out aggressors trying to push onto the outside trophy window. Not seen too much of that yet because, of course, the first push was pretty much exclusively going through into trophy. However, maybe, just maybe, Xenos have some different plans.
I just want to talk about what Enyx are doing. This is not the norm I expect from them for their defenses. And it's not, yeah, he finally got it. This is not the norm I expect ever from a Kitchen Trophy, just anybody. We see a Mira being picked for Kitchen Trophy, which never happens. Mira doesn't have really big any impact due to the fact that the ceilings are destructible and stuff like that there, and also below. But they have managed to bring it. I don't exactly know where he put the Mirror windows, but also then Castle's going to be picked, and also a very niche pick lineup coming out from Enyx. So I'm still curious to see where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, the Mirror is definitely an interesting one because really there aren't too many Mirror windows you can get down that give you the huge advantage that, you know, she's renowned for on other maps. It's sometimes a little bit better, like you were saying, to just kind of take that more standard comp in a sense, really hunker down on Trophy and Kitchen, but opting for the Mirror, definitely something different. But however, we've already seen what different can do with the Pulse being picked up in the first series of the day. That is sometimes it's the small changes that make the biggest difference.
That's what I was expecting. I was expecting the Pulse. I was expecting a Smoke, as they are so good at denying a lot of the access. Again, Pulse can get a very early on kill, anybody wanting to push in towards that master bedroom area, and also Smoke in them dying seconds off the round. And Charlie is one of them maps where in the last 15 seconds, that is whenever all the attackers start to push in, as it is pretty easy. It takes you 5 seconds to push from the dining door in towards the kitchen and go for the plant. Smoke can stop that entirely, and it does win you the round, but we are seeing a very interesting Mira, as this then does give cover to this west main side. They do have then that deployable shield, which stops that drone hole being used and abused.
I quite like this through into Kitchen because of just the angle that it gives you coverage of the whole kitchen. It just depends on, of course, whether they can make use of it, but finally Kinders gets himself his kill. Brings down Havertz with that grenade.
Yep, Xenos are starting to push in from that dining side, but with that Mirror window, it hasn't been taken out yet. I say that, but Kinders looks to go and try and get rid of Mac, trying to play this. The deployable shield is going to get taken out, so the Mute is going to be in harm's way, possibly, as the shots do come in. Is very lucky not to get the headshot onto Mac. But then it is still holding out for Enyx at the moment. Whiskers then does finish off Max. It is going to be a 5v3, as Xenos could possibly take this round.
Finally, we're going to see another turnaround as we've seen previously. But let's then go for it. He knows there is someone sat in this corner now. Going to have to be very careful watching what's going on down there. C4 comes out, almost catches Kinders, but just about dodges away. Only got the 25 HP left though, and will get sprayed as he goes to run away. Praxi takes the kill, and Winegun will return it back and forth. Kills are going pretty much everywhere right now. There's pretty much Revengeance kills coming through everywhere. Madman, as you say, still stepping up pretty big. 3 seconds to go though. Looks like it's going to be a round going across Enyx unless that diffuser goes down.
No. Madman's got to say no.
No.
Looking at the way the Xenos pushed in, once again, they had the advantage at 5-3. They were 2-man up, and then it just crumbled. They did it last round, they had the man advantage, and then it crumbled. I think once they had that man advantage, they then should have stepped back. They still had like a minute 30. They started trying to push in towards down about minute 30 whenever they still had plenty of time left. That is whenever they should have took a step back, send a couple of drones in. Maybe they couldn't because there was a mute jammer, of course, in there somewhere. And then try and find out exactly where these defenders are going to be sitting, and then try and go for your final push. And from that position, Xenos definitely should have got the plant down. They had control of dining, had control of kitchen. I believe there was 2 people in kitchen by the time then all the kills started happening. So I would say a big choke from Xenos.
Going to see our first defense of Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage coming through here. Again, the Mirror being taken. A lot more effective on this point than upstairs in Kitchen and Trophy. For a second, I'm actually quite surprised to see the Yin coming through, but again, I think it's all about that vertical breach, and we see it so commonly on maps like Clubhouse, for example, where you're all trying to pile through one point, where generally the drop goes into one room, and you can basically clear the whole thing out with those Yin grenades, and then all push in as a collective unit. So I think the only issue with Yin is that it will tell you, or tell the opposition, what kind of strategy you're looking to go for. It's not very common that you'll push down the stairs or something like you can go for it, because you like to get that grenade as central to the room as possible.
Yin is also a big giveaway. And whenever the Candels go in as well, is that lets the defending team know whenever you're going to go in for the plant. Once they start coming in, okay, we see all this utility coming in, this is going to be then their opportunity to try and go in for the plant. Then we will more than likely then see the counter smoke grenades from Smoke being thrown in. Xenos have not chosen Smoke once again, which is a big worry, especially for a bomb site such as that Snowmobile and Wine Cellar, of course. So I'm worrying a wee bit with their operator choices.
Just a little bit, but let's see if they can make it work. 1-on-1 currently the score. Of course, Enyx having a very, very good first map performance. This one looking a bit more balanced overall.
once again.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's all down to Xenos to try and turn this one around, and Willis opening up the scoring. He's definitely one of their standout players for today. Had some pretty good success so far.
Yeah, it seems to be that Xenos are starting off strong again, but this man cannot be stopped. As he just goes and picks up another kill. Will he get the second? That's going to be Pranksy shutting down Kinders, and that is going to be then the top floor control going in Enyx's favour. This time, no Buck or Sledge on Enyx's lineup. I typically, for Shally, whenever I've seen them play, Ying was never an option. It was always in the Buck they liked. I would always agree that Buck is a necessity for pushing all the bomb sites, as there is a lot of destructible flooring, especially inside that lobby area, which I'm sure that is where Enyx are going to start to move in next and possibly try and open up some holes again. The Ash Launcher could still open up a hole, and just shooting through them could also open up a sight line if you know where they are.
That's your kind of push they tried to go for here as well. They've managed to clear out at least the roamers upstairs. The Ella, of course, going down, but now they've got to put some work in downstairs. They've done their droning. Now is the time to start going for that move down. A minute and 20 left on the clock. Still got time to play with if they want more intel before going in for the big push. But I'm just concerned that once again we leave it to the 30-second mark, and that's when mistakes start getting made. You lose one of your entry fraggers, and suddenly as soon as they're gone, well, you all panic and you kind of pause, and you can't afford to pause with such little time left.
We've seen it a lot from 1UP, where whenever one key member dies, then they started the stall, they started the panic, they looked in disarray a bit, and maybe that's down to the IGL not being able to then be able to play off you losing your main fragger, of course. But I think that Team Enyx know that there is going to be no smoke on Xenos. We haven't seen them play a smoke yet, so they don't have that big of pressure saying, okay, 30 seconds, we have to push in now, or else these smoke grenades are going to stop us winning the round. In this circumstance, they don't have to worry about that, so they do have an extra 30 seconds to think about what they're going to do.
I love how Cryptic has basically wasted about 20 seconds of their time there with the bandit tricks. Yeah, both the Thermite and the Hibana charges got denied by him, so really good play by him there in terms of making sure he had the charges down on the right walls at the right time. But the push is going to come through regardless now. Let's see if Xenos can make this one work for them. They go into a 2 versus 2. We've seen what happens when Madman is one of the last ones left alive, but in this case, he is not, but Enyx will still come out on top. And Xenyx go down to 2 and 1.
Again, came down to the wire, and I just stressed so much how important smoke is on so many bomb sites. Smoke is one of my favourite operators to pick for defensive strats, because in them circumstances, as we've just shown, Smoke would have won them that round. They would have been able to stop Pranksy pushing in. They would have been able to then smoke off that main stairs area as well, where we've seen some attackers pushing as well. So I would say that Xenos, looking back at this, possibly for your next game, maybe trying to implement a smoke into some of your defences.
Unfortunately, that they can hear you at this moment in time because they are so wrapped up in the game itself. And Enyx looking strong once more. Xenos at least showing some signs of fighting back. Enough to take the map. Doesn't quite look so, but we know exactly what happened last time. We got to 4 and 1 before Fable turned it round onto 1UP. Let's see, of course, if they can replicate that success in this match.
We're seeing that Wine Cellar and Snowmobile once again for Enyx. We've seen them play it a lot last week. We kind of know what they try and go for, a really heavy roam up towards that library area, but we are going to see Pranksy drop. Are we going to see a rehost? Or I don't think we are. They're going to continue playing, so it will be a bit of a deficit here for Enyx. Oh, nope, I speak too soon.
You do speak far too soon, my friend. Will be a rehost. He dropped out very, very early in the prep phase. So we'll, of course, come back into this game with it being at 2 and 1. So I guess it's a good time to at least take a very, very quick break and talk about what's going on. We've been speaking about it kind of as we've gone through, but it's looked pretty good for Enyx. Xenos is showing signs of life kind of late on, which is what we saw from Fable in the first half. It took until match point for 1UP for them to turn around and just sweep 5-6 rounds in a row. Yeah. Do you think that they have it in them here to be able to pull out the same, or do you think Enyx are just too resilient?
I think if Xenos change their strategy up, especially where they do have that man advantage, and they need to start slowing it down just a tad and then start find out exactly where Enyx are. And for the most part, me and you talked about this a lot in the pre-game, where I talked to you about all the late rotates Enyx like to go for, as they're a late rotating kind of team. And it really has then shown that Xenos don't like to cover their backs.
Yeah. And that's always one of the worry points, is that you've been speaking of, in fact, this is a good time to bring out your analogy that you've been so desperate to speak about. He has the old childhood game of rock, paper, scissors explained basically in all these teams. Go ahead, knock yourself out.
So, this might be a little much for some of you to take in, but I will try and explain it as I go on. So, there is this little bit of a meta where we talk about the rock and the paper and the scissors. Oh, just like the old game, where one another...
I'm not getting any younger, come on.
So, one another do beat each other out. Looking at your rock teams, they are your aggressive teams, they use their gun skill a lot. Looking at teams such as Fable, where we've seen them play earlier on, they really want to get in your face. They only really have this one-way strat push. They don't really cover their flanks, as we've seen Kimbe and Mop use and abuse that a lot. And then looking then at your scissor teams, they would be your more slow, methodical play styles. They would like to think things out a lot more before starting to push. I would say that teams such as 1UP fall under that, as we've seen them do their nice, slow, methodical pushes, bring the right operators for the different sections. Legion, bit of a niche pick, they brought it for a reason.
But it worked.
But then, looking at the way Fable then played in that second map, you could really show that the Scissors was getting beaten by the Rock. The aggression, they couldn't handle it, even though they brought these operators. They didn't change anything up, which again, that is what Scissors teams don't really do. They don't change things up, they just keep going with it. They say they've ran through the strats, it works for them. But it just fell apart for 1UP. So that is where then you see Rock then beating the Scissors. Looking at paper, they are your 50-50, your mid kind of teams, where they would go run through strats and then they would play it slow, and then possibly in the late game they turn on the overdrive and then you try and use and abuse them flanks. They would be more late rotates, and they're real big counter strat teams. That is then where you're seeing the paper teams beat them aggression teams, is then of course you see the flanks being left open a lot. As I'm sure if Enyx came up against teams such as Fable, they would definitely punish them in that sense. But then looking at the way Scissors teams then beat paper teams, is of course that Scissors team, they like to sit back, they don't give anything away, they don't show their hand, and it's very hard then for a paper team to try and counter that. So that's more or less the rock, paper, scissors meta for any of you guys at home wanting to understand the different play styles of the teams.
Well, you know, when he walks into Year 7 Science next week and they say, so what have you been talking about this weekend demo? He'll go, I was talking about rock, paper, scissors, and they'll absolutely love him for it. But there you go, his analogy. He's been dying to tell you about that all evening, and the break seemed like an absolutely perfect time to do so. But it's a good way, I think, of kind of visualizing how these different teams play out. You can definitely look and say, I don't know if we're going to do this because it sounds a bit weird. We'll just go, oh, they're playing like rock right now, they're playing like scissors right now. But you do have...
It makes it simple.
It does, yeah. It does kind of boil it down to terms that everyone can understand in that way, I suppose. But speaking about these two teams then, let's have a look at the other games that's coming up a little bit later on as well. We've got Vexed versus Horizon next. Now, that one, to me at least, is probably going to be the biggest difference in terms of skill of what we'll see. Vexed definitely being one of those run-and-gun style teams that will just run through you. Horizon have looked good. They've had moments where they've definitely shined, and I think in terms of how that's going to go, Vexed have looked solid against even 1UP, who are very, very coordinated on their first map. Vex made them look like child's play dismantling them. Yeah,
I think looking at Vexed, I think they're the underdogs from you guys. Is it looking at the polls? I believe they're the underdogs.
44%, Horizon are 56%.
That surprises me a lot, because a lot of teams looked at Vex and said, oh, unstoppable, 100% are going to make the LAN. I would kind of agree with that, especially if Vex played the way they did against 1UP, and look at the way 1UP played. I believe we did see 1UP's true form. We've seen them play very, very well. We've seen their strats come in, implement quite a lot. And I feel as if Vex did that to 1UP, and then I would say that 1UP would probably beat Horizon. I think if there's another poll, 1UP versus Horizon, which we'll probably see next week, I would say that 1UP would have the favour over Horizon. So it's just kind of the way you see teams, okay, this guy beat this team, and then he beat that team, who's going to win? It's really hard to understand sometimes.
You can kind of guess and discern it, but I think it also makes it quite hard because, again, week on week things are changing. And what's going to be the biggest example of how week's going to affect teams is week 3 and 4, because the way it's going is that each team will play their first opponent, their second opponent, and their third, and then in week 4 you go back to a third opponent, their second opponent, and then first. So you have 2 weeks there essentially where it's a best-of series across those 2 weeks. And I think if we see very wildly different results, we're going to know that it's purely because of that week-long break. And I'll be very interested in seeing player stats between those 2 weeks, because that will be a big definer for me where things look very different between two teams. And maybe, just maybe, you start seeing kind of who the dark horses are, who the sub-carries are in each of those teams.
Week 3 will definitely open up the table. It will show possibly Vex, if they win tonight, they could go 12 points. And then next week they win again, they could go 18 points, go undefeated. And whenever you're sitting in the third week with 18 points, you as a team must be feeling really confident, because then you could maybe take it off the gas a little bit, knowing, yeah, we've more or less secured our spot for LAN. Which, speaking to Vexed, they said to me, the only thing we want to do is get to LAN. So, Yeah, looking at it, that will whenever we'll start to see who is going to qualify.
We've had very different conversations because to me they basically said we want to have fun. That's basically it. However, we will see how much fun they can have a little bit later on as we are almost ready to jump back into this map. Of course, it is technically 2-1 at the minute to Enyx, so they are the ones with the advantage. Let's see how they play this round out. Vigil once again being picked up. I'm really liking seeing him a lot more lately. Yeah,
back down to that snowmobile. And I would imagine that we're going to see that Vigil being played as a very heavy roam game, as we did see in Bank. Madman did a really good job just wasting a lot of time, and a map like Chalet, it again has 3 sets of staircases, so it does provide them roamers with a lot of ways up and down through the floors, and also a lot of drop hatches, which possibly Madman could start dropping down to, as we do see one that leads down in towards that big garage that Madman can then start rotating and start doing, just really playing a big game of hide and seek with a lot of the attackers.
Attackers are moving.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if they can make this work out for them. Xenos so far a little shaky. Have started to warm up as we've got into Chalet, but for the most part, Enyx still looking like the stronger side. And I really like that we're seeing a lot of double roamer competitions come through. Sometimes I think it really suits the map more than anything else, where sometimes if you have 3 operators that can hold down a point, of course it's very, very sensible in that instance to take away the double roamer and just try and hold them out for as long as you can. But equally, we've seen that bite teams really hard. If they lose those 2 roamers in the first 30 seconds, you've got 3 versus 5, and it's not a good situation to be in.
No, typically, whenever you do have that advantage, that 2-man advantage, like we've talked about, that is whenever the team who is in the deficit either goes in a bit of a hiding mode and then they just let the other team walk all over them, or we see a bit of a fight back saying, okay, we're 2 men down, maybe they might not expect even more aggression, which we have seen Enyx do, and that's how they've been able to pull off these deficits.
Well, we saw it work really well with Kimbe when he rushed Nasher downstairs earlier on. So maybe we see some other crazy plays. However, so far, just about the drones, nothing particularly crazy going on. Just trying to get some intel before they go for their push. They know that they've gone for the ones that are reinforced, as we so commonly see. Mirror being picked up again. Of course, a lot more sense downstairs than it does upstairs. And I'm really keen to see how Madman does in this visual, because every time he's picked it so far, he's got at least 2 kills in a round.
Yeah, looking at the way that these roamers are set up, they're close to each other, which leading back to work in 2s, as I'm pretty sure like they're just right above and below each other, so Blitz can easily start rotating down the stairs if Madman does start to get challenged at that bar door, and also equally Madman can come and start possibly rotate up the main stairs and start supporting Blitz if he starts to get pressured, which always comes back to that, always work in pairs. It's going to be a lot easier, as in if you do start to panic, you start saying they're pushing me, I have 3 guys on me, then your teammate can come up and again easy kills, because they're not going to be expecting in the second roamer.
No, well, there's going to be no one upstairs for them here, but they're going to see what they can find from up above. Going to open it up with a grenade there, because surely see someone lying down.
Oh.
He's literally a couple of pixels off the right-hand side. Has no idea that he's there, though. Madman's super close. It looks like even he downstairs doesn't have a clue of what's going on upstairs either. Both of them just like ships in the night, passing each other with 0 view. Just step to the left, Madman. You're frustrating me like all hell right now. Not going to spot him out, though. I'm ready to push you a step to the side. This is actually tilting. Now he'll know, because he's soaring it back up off his feet.
Oh, he is going to see the foot, and that is going to be an easy kill for Madman.
Straight at the backside.
Yeah. And he still has control of upstairs, and having this angle, that corner that he is looking into is going to be the most common spot that we see him using, and then that is going to be the call-out. He sees the big, what colour box is that? Yellow, green?
Yellow, mate. I'll probably say yellow.
The big yellow box that is... that is always the key thing for a defender to try and defend. And then we do see the rest of Enyx clean up the rest of the kills, but big round for Madman.
Really big. Just again, that round from upstairs, it always feels like the upstairs attackers have the advantage, and well, that's exactly what we saw that time round. Really smart play. Really good way to bring themselves back into this. Find themselves now at 3-1. So if they win this round, they go to match points. And Enyx could be taking this series away 2-0 very quickly.
Looking at the way the Enyx are playing, this just falls into their category of going for these late rotates, and then also Xenos not covering them flanks, which is a major problem. They're not going for any drones, which is, in my opinion, if you're not going to take the time to drone out roamers upstairs, then that is your fault. Then they have that free range to do what roamers do best, especially with a person like Madman, who you need to kill, because he is going to be a big factor. And if Enyx win most of their rounds, as he always has been, and if they don't take that time to find him and kill him, he is obviously going to do something crazy, and it's going to stop you winning the round, which we have just seen him do.
Lots of grouping up here towards Trophy side once more. Going to try this because it worked so well last time. Xenos find themselves at 3-1. Now, it was around this time in the first map where we saw Fable really start to fight things back. There was actually 4-1, so it was match point. That's how close it came down to the wire for them before they won those 5 rounds in the row. Have Xenos got what it takes to do the same this time round, or will Enyx just round things out the way that we expected them to in both the first and the second week?
I don't see the same fight as what we've seen last week from Xenos. They're not doing the same pushes, they're not doing the same droning, they're not working together. I thought last week they worked really well as a team, especially being all Pro League buddies as well. It just doesn't seem to be the same Xenos that we seen do bits last week against Radix.
Yeah, we came into this, and as you said, I think they were the most experienced team coming into this as well. 4 members playing previously in Pro League, I think it was. Or maybe that was Infamy. I can't fully remember.
Well, Infamy also has some ex-Pro League players as well on it.
Yeah. So I think we expected that, but overall, it's been a slow start for them. It was a pretty good first week. Radix definitely looked kind of unsettled them, which is why I'm very interested to see as well how Infamy versus Radix goes, which will be our final game of the evening, purely because both of those two almost unsettled 2 of the favourites to go to LAN. They definitely gave them grief, and I think if nothing else between those two, it'll be time to see who's really kind of that underdog, dark horse fighters that will come fighting out of nowhere and potentially threaten that land spot from one of these top few teams.
Looking at the way Radix played last week, I thought they were going to do a lot worse. I didn't expect them to do as well as they did. They took it to overtime. Even though they still didn't get a point, they still played really well, especially from the underdog side and the new team on the block. So I'd say that Radix have a big chance beating Infamy tonight, but we will see that later on what happens. But anyway, we do see Xenos going 5-3 up again, but Madman is going to go in. Is he going to get the triple? No, Floki shuts him down. And then we are going to see Mac push in. Mac was completely oblivious to Floki, and he does pick up another kill.
Floki going pretty big there. Just Blitz left on his one. We'll get a double spray down here. Yes, he will. It's a 1v1, but Willis gets it from the other side of Kitchen. And Xenos finally find their way back into it. Is this the start of the reverse sweep?
Possibly could be, but the 5-3 deficit once again, and then Madman brings it back equal. But this time, finally, they did manage to win the round from that, and they do have a little bit of fight back coming on to them now. But once again, it is going to be Enyx's kitchen trophy coming out once again from them, which we did see them successfully defend. And then obviously with Xenos being able to defend that kitchen trophy, they're going to have to go back downstairs, but I spoke too soon about the kitchen trophy, as it is going to be the bar and gaming room defense. We haven't seen them do this yet, but looking at bar and gaming room, it is going to be the map pick. That it's very interesting, a very interesting bomb site to say the least. Is it's not the norm for most players would take the bar gaming room, but Enyx have all 3 bomb sites covered, which they always have done ever since I believe it's Season 3. They've always been able to defend 3 of these bomb sites with these mirror windows. So it might be able to catch Xenos by surprise, because we know they're not the most stratty team. But then will they be able to play off this bar and gaming room and try and expose its weaknesses?
Absolutely. Well, it's all about trying to claw this one back, I think, for Xenos at this point, because they know even when it comes down to the point where you're tied on points, the map score counts. Even if you find yourself losing this out, at least for every round you get, if it comes to that final week and we're in a tie, every single round counts. It's always worth fighting down to the bitter end. However, I'm pretty sure in their eyes, they're eyeing up a win. They want those points. Who cares about that round difference? Everybody wants the points to make it as clean and clear-cut as can be, that you are the ones that should be going to LAN.
Like we were talking about earlier, whoever manages, well, obviously we know now Enyx has got 3 points in the bag. If Enyx go on and take another 6 points, they will definitely be then the front runners to go to LAN. If Xenos do pull this back and do make a good comeback, well then they will also still be in the driver's seat with the maximum number of points. So it could go either way at this stage. Only 3-2 down, only 1 round in it. So it's easily taken back from Xenos here if they do play this right.
I do find Group B very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because of how the first week results went, this week is going to be very, very pivotal in how things turn out. If these two draw here, and then we see the same again coming out of Infamy versus Radix, well, you know, Xenos would have got the 2-0 there. It would have been a bunch of draws otherwise, and that leads to a very interesting week 3, where that will kind of be the decider once we reach the halfway mark of the Premiership to determine who are the stronger teams coming into this in this group. I mean, on paper, you'd probably coin these 2 teams you're seeing on your screen right now as the ones going into LAN potentially. But I think maybe you can almost based on how Xenos have played today, they haven't looked super solid. Infamy definitely didn't look solid in the first map, but second map, Chalet, which is exactly what we're on now, they've rolled their way through Enyx and definitely look strong. So if they can show next week against Xenos that they have the capability to beat them, well, suddenly you start saying, well, maybe Xenos are the third place team here. And first one, there's always one. It took us 2 games to get it, but Floki is going to bring down TW. That doesn't spell well for them, because otherwise it takes us to match point.
Yeah. Looking at Group B, I just want to touch upon that as well. I would also argue that a lot of the community would have thought that Enyx and Infamy were the front runners from that group to go to land, not necessarily Xenos, as a lot of people haven't seen Xenos for a while. Last time we seen them was in Pro League. They have got a team back together and have qualified, of course. So I think that Xenos winning against Radix wasn't too much of a surprise, as a lot of people thought Radix aren't even going to get a sniff of a point inside the Premiership. A lot of people wrote them off early on. I'm going to say, I also didn't think Radix were going to do as well as they did. They definitely impressed me. And I think Infamy are right for the picking for Radix to get a couple of points for them.
You think Infamy will get picked off by Radix?
I think it. Because I've seen Infamy play also on Wednesday in their Major League group against Team Viral. They played pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure a lot of viewers at home watched that match. Infamy didn't perform as what I'm used to seeing Infamy perform to. But anyway, back to the game. We do have 20 seconds on the clock. We do see this upstairs control coming out from Xenos. 15 seconds on the clock nearly, but still a couple of roamers are going to be lurking towards them back areas of the map. And let's see if they can manage to clutch us up, as we see Madman getting the kill on the Kinders, but Floki gets traded on the Blitz as West gets a kill on the Havocs, as Madman is still upstairs. He did miss somebody jump down, as then the Claymore's going to get a kill on the Mac. Last man up is going to be Madman. He has stopped the diffuser. He doesn't. He picks up 1. He picks up 2. Can he get the clutch? He's going to try and go for the diffuser. Wankum is going to be locked out by the castle barricade. And it is going to be Madman getting the clutch and is going to be picking up the match point now for his team.
Oh, it's always such a bite. We saw it earlier on in the first game as well, where your defensive setup comes back to hurt you so much when it was the case of all the buck shotgun shells that have gone through the ceiling. We're actually helping the defenders be able to stop the attackers from getting the plant down. Yep. Exactly the same thing happened just there. And Madman, I think if he wasn't playing as well as he is today, we would see this probably going 1-on-1. But as it stands, based on how well he is playing, I think he's going to end up carrying his team through it.
Coming to Enyx's rescue. Once again, I've seen it doing so many times. This guy, every time I've ever seen him, he has performed. It is unbelievable. I've also played with a guy before. I've played with him in ESL, and he is a monster. Just at any time you play with him, he will do work.
Doing work is most definitely one way to put it, but it's looking ridiculously good today. And I think even though last week he was one of the quieter players, he was still one of the standout ones alongside Mac, who barely hasn't been too noisy himself this week either. But it's like we said earlier on, you don't have to be the star man every single week. You can give others the time to shine. And it feels like, again, you just enable the team member that's playing well to play to their best. What are they strong at? If they're strong roamers, you just work on trying to distract the aggressors. You make sure they've got their eyes on you so the roamer can go and do their job.
I think we talked about it a lot in the Fable 1-up match, where we've seen both teams play their advantages. Fable particularly worked on getting Nasher and Reaction into areas where they can start causing havoc. Looking at 1-up, they wanted to make sure Kimbai had all the intel he could to go for these late rotates. Looking at the way Enyx are playing, they just want to make sure Madman gets the kills. Looking at Xenos, they want to make sure that they can stop Madman getting the kills, but at the moment, they can't stop this guy, and that is the main reason why they are losing this game.
Let's see if they finally find an answer to him, because I remember actually basically in this exact game, first map especially, was they just kept Kinders quiet. Knowing how well he played last week, their response was, well, if we can shut Kinders out of this game, we have nothing to worry about. And that definitely felt true for a while, although Whiskers Willis has definitely had
stepped up.
He has. He's had a very, very good first couple of maps, I think. And now that the rest of the team are kind of waking up around him, it's not just Kinders anymore. It's the rest of the team as well really starting to perform. Question is it enough to stop Enyx now that they are Xenyx combining the two team names there? Is it enough to stop Enyx from taking this point? Because if they do so, that second map going to them, and it'll be a 2-0 in week 2 for Enyx.
I think TW's been very quiet tonight. We haven't seen as much big plays from him
as
we did last week. He was pretty
quiet last week. He was a big assist king last week, whereas I think today he's definitely been quiet. However, Willis goes down. Again, one of the big fraggers coming through for Xenos is off the map. That gives Madman the time to kind of run right here and do what he does best, which is basically clean up the enemy team in a 1 versus 3.
Still have to take clear off this top floor, or else Kinders is then going to have free range of all of them staircases, and then also can shoot down from that lobby balcony as well. and then can really stop Enyx wanting to try and push down that main stairs, as we have seen Enyx push as well. I think it might have been the third round where we seen the wine cellar push wasn't working, then they had to start rotating down the main stairs. If they had the roamer upstairs, that could have stopped that. But we do see him rotate downstairs. I'm sure he's gotten the call. Come back. They're starting to push really heavy with this Thermite and Thatcher combo. And at this stage, Enyx have full control of upstairs, and they also have full control of that wine cellar corridor as well.
I'd almost like to say Kinders do a Kimbe here and go for that late rotate and just try and put pressure on from the other side. If nothing else, to force them to panic, because they know they're being pressured from both sides that way. Bandit tricking once again. We saw this earlier on coming out, and it works really, really well from TW. He was the last man standing, but in this case, with that hole in the wall, it's going to have to be forced to retreat here, just behind the barrels, actually, rather than out of the room altogether. At
this time, we do see the smoke finally being picked up by Xenos, so Enyx don't have the same time as they do. They basically shuts down 30 seconds off the board for Enyx wanting to push in, but we do see that late rotate like we wanted Kinders to do. I believe Madman caught a glimpse. He did want to go for the repeat, which is very smart. They have control. He just needs to cover this flank, as he also does have a banner upstairs as well. And 30 seconds on the clock. Let's see where it will go from here.
Well, it's definitely forced Madman to put attention elsewhere, which means there isn't as much aggression going into the point. But here comes that 20-second push. They're going for the plant in the corner with Pranksy. Even Madman, he's still got his eyes on Kinders. He knows that he was lurking somewhere. And he's like, where have you gone, you slippery dog, you? Answer is, you'll have no idea, because he's killing your teammates on the point itself. Get out-rotated, my friend. The 3 versus 1 now.
Down the Madman.
They dealt with it. Kinders with the late rotate has won this round for them, unless Madman can pull off a miraculous play.
That Element is still beside him as well, which I'm quite worried about. He didn't take that out straight away. He is going to see Kinders does get the down, but we are going to see then the fuse happen. He's not going to be able to pick up the round, as it is going to be Mira standing in front, tanking a couple of shots for his teammate, and Xenos do pull it back.
That was brilliant from Kinders, and finally, we said we'd like to see him do this very early on in the round, and alas, he did it. Stop listening to the stream, my friend. But he went for the big play, and it paid off wonders for them, because that's what I've been waiting to see, is him showing us that brilliance that he showed us last week. And that late rotate, pulling Madman's aggression away from the point, keeps him very quiet. And given the rest of his team are quiet, it kind of leaves them without any big aggressor onto the point. However, now Enyx are on the defense. They've got to come up with something else creative to be able to win this one out. For Kinders, that creativity comes in the form of Buck.
This could now be Kinders' turn on his engine. He is starting to rev up now. We see him doing big plays now. I believe it was almost reminiscent of what Madman did to them, going upstairs and shooting them down the floor and then in towards that plant drop as well. So it's really curious the fact that Kinders thought works for Madman might work for me, and that's exactly what he did. And possibly Enyx maybe took their foot off the gas. They didn't want to try and hunt him, which is very peculiar, as I've always known Madman to want to go for the kills. He's always wanted to push out the roamers, do whatever he can to protect his support players. So I would say that maybe Enyx just slowed down too much.
Let's not forget, if Enyx win this round and they take the map, if Xenos win it, then we will go for the rehost to bring us into overtime. And that will be when things get interesting, because it will be basically the exact same story as what we saw from today's first series, where one team looks super dominant to begin with, then the other team just fights back and has that resurgence. Admittedly, Xenos' resurgence hasn't been as strong as what we saw from Fable in the first series of the day, but it's a resurgence nonetheless, and if they can take a point here, they'll be very happy with that.
It doesn't seem to be the same sweep as what we've seen Fable do. It seems to be more back and forth rounds, but if you look at going back and forth rounds, you win one, we win one, you win one, we win another one. At this stage, then Enyx should go ahead and win this round, and that'll be the match over. So Xenos can't afford to give them another round. They have to go for this comeback and then start taking it to overtime.
So Willis here had eyes on Blitz. They know that he's lurking upstairs, and they can try and deal with him if they wish. He's going to smash a few windows in. Vandalism at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's see what happens downstairs, though. You can see them trying to get the reinforcers up quite late, actually, here, about 45 seconds into the round. Not exactly as well where Madman is lurking. He's got his hand on that Vigil once more. We've seen him play brilliantly with it. Hanging out in kitchen, but Kinders is going to be the one to strike first. Bringing down Blitz.
Looking at the way Mac placed that late reinforcement, as you said, I think that was him just having it not reinforced, because previously, whenever it was Xenos attacking the wine cellar side, he had the mirror window on the other side facing towards wine cellar. So I think he just waits until he discovers, okay, if they're pushing snowmobile, I'm going to go around reinforce this side and put the mirror window. Or if they're going to push wine cellar, then you flip it over, which is a really, really interesting strat. Being able to counter what side the enemy team's going to go for is typically a map such as Chalet. You either push wine cellar or you either push the snowmobile.
It does, of course, mean you put yourself in a slightly risky scenario where you're still getting your setup, and if there does come an early rush from the opposite side, you can find yourself in hot water. However, these days, teams don't really tend to go for those early rushes. It's always around about the minute to 30 seconds mark when they really start making their moves. The rest of it is about the intel gathering, and what better way to kind of confuse their intel gathering than by changing the intel that they get halfway through the round.
Yeah, again, having that vigil is just... Oh, EMP grenade is going to go out, which I believe does disable Vigil's pack, which does allow him to become invisible. Oh, I think I actually missed. I thought that was going to... Yeah, if that did land, that would have been really big, as then they would have known, okay, this guy can't use his pack. We can see him as if he's any other roamer. His gadget now is useless. But they still haven't decided to go for the push. If Madman was to just swing around the corner, he would get an easy kill onto that Ash. And this is where Xenos are being a little bit sloppy, in my opinion.
Havoc's lurking up from behind as well. They've got a couple of angles here onto this Soul Aggressor sat around the middle.
He's there.
He's going to run around and pick him. Yes, he will, and gets the kill first. And Madman pops up in response. But it's kind of unfortunate, mate, that there's a few walls in the way.
20 seconds.
Let's see what else he can go for here. He's going to try and hold this angle as best he can.
He is wasting time.
He's just got to hold out. That's literally all that he has to do. Goes to the run across. Almost gets tagged. One more shot left is all that he has. Let's see if he can hold the point down here.
User
has gone down in Garage, though. And now the 2 kills are coming across. There's Madman left on his own once again. We're going to go to overtime at this rate. Yeah. He's got 1 shot left to his name, and he's got to retake this point. I don't see it happening.
No, Xenos, they seem to want to go for this snowmobile push. They realise that the wine cellar isn't working, as they know that Madman likes to roam round about that master bedroom area, of course. And this time, Xenos, they discovered, okay, let's try and push an area where it's going to be awkward for him to try and get kills. Let's have one person cover the flanks. We know he's going to be located inside that dining area, and then from there, it is going to be very easy for then Xenos just to push out the rest of these anchors, using that buck to the best of his ability, and then we will be moving into overtime from there.
Absolutely, we will. We are going to stay in this, though, and keep on playing on. Won't go for the rehost for this one, which is going to make things interesting, because it means that a couple of the points, of course, will be unavailable to them at the very least. But with how things going, what can we see Enyx turn around and change? Because Xenos, they're doing a fable. They're turning this game on its head in the dying moments.
I think that Enyx have took their foot off the gas. Either that or Xenos have turned on the gas. As Kinders has definitely came alive now. He is starting to do work for his team. He had a great buck play there, being able to just open up all of them anchor positions, getting rid of that mirror window, of course, and then it was pretty simple from there for the Thermite just to run across the room, knowing that the defenders are going to be more focused on the people shooting them from above, and then from there it was very simple for them just to sit outside and pick them off one by one.
10 seconds left before...
Well, let's see what Xenos can do. I'm concerned for Enyx because this will be the second week in a row now where they've chosen Chalet and lost on it, because last week, of course, they got completely turned around by Infamy. This week, it's Xenos. And let's not forget, both of their first maps, they 5-0'd their opposition. Yeah. Utter dominance, and then just seem to really struggle when it comes to Chalet. I'm almost thinking, you may have been practicing these strats, but if you know it's one of those kind of cursed maps, even if it's a bit of a joke and kind of a coincidence, just get rid of it. If it's something you're not 100% comfortable with, or maybe other teams are very comfortable with, just take it out the way. Yeah, especially because Chalet's one of the maps where most teams can play, most teams know the basics for this map, take control of Master Bedroom, use the buck to its best ability, and then start trying to push in from that dining area, knowing that nobody's going to be located there to stop you, and then you should get the plant off from there. Well, Madman has got eyes on the Ella and where she is hovering. Question is going to deal with it. Blitz manages to get a spray down onto Willis, who was sat in the wrong place. Madman gets the one onto Kinders. He's in the sight. And that's 2 of their big shooters already gone down. Madman gets himself second of the round. That was so close. One dropped. Very close, though, like you say. It's still a 4 versus 2. 4.5 if you consider that Madman is not yet out of commission completely. Nope. But that is going to be a very quick change. There we go. Floki is like, hey, guy. He's like, hey, man, bye. How was he? Oh, I know why he wasn't in the sight. No barbed wire on that south main, that main door push-in area, which is a really high traffic area for a lot of attackers want to push in. They didn't manage to defend that whatsoever. Ooh, questionable tactics from Xenos, as they do have that smoke. This is where I would expect a smoke grenade just to slow down what's happening. They seem to be being a bit flustered, Xenos, at the moment, just having Madman push in like that.
it was a very questionable play, as Floki does get the kill on the blitz, so he does get a kill back for his team, but Madman has done the damage.
He has, but they're still holding strong. 2 versus 3 now. Can he get this other one peeking at the top of the stairs? Goes to the peak, gets down though, and Havocs will bring down Floki into a 3 versus 1. Maybe Enyx have finally found the mojo that they've been missing for the last few rounds. They may take this first round of overtime if they can bring down Cryptic, who is the final defender here in Trophy.
They know where he is, so it's just a matter. It's just a matter of them pushing in from that dining area. They have control of that hatch. One person's going to be covering, then there's running from the corridor. Is going to be Havocs, and from here it should be Enyx winning the round. As still getting pelted from that hatch. Diffuser's going to go down. TW last man up. Prexy's going to finish off the round. And match point once again for Enyx.
Well, Enyx definitely starting to shine once more, but really you have to say, this is the biggest problem with teams when they rely on the one member. We spoke about it a few times already. Team-wide consistency is what wins games, and for Enyx, that looked like it was the case on the first map. Here, they've sunk into what we've seen from a number of other teams where you're relying on one man to do the work for you. And at this point, it's just Madman. If he flies off the handle and really starts doing work, they win. If he gets brought down early or is kept quiet by Kinders, as we saw already with the rotations earlier on, well, Xenos start winning rounds, and that brings us into the final point, I suppose you could say, in that best of 3 in overtime.
So last round potentially for Enyx, as they are going to have that kitchen and trophy hold with that really curious strategy where they have the mirror, they have the castle, they have the mute. I believe it did work for them last time, as Madman did do a lot of work. It did clutch up, I believe, as well. So I think the Xenos are either going to have to know exactly how to play this, but it is going to be very weird, as I've never seen it before, so I highly doubt that they have. So it is down to see how Xenos do things differently this time around.
Absolutely. Well, Kitchen and Trophy, definitely the most popular of the 2 points so far. But let's see if they can manage to get these barbed wire correct, because last time around it was what really hurt them. Well, not hurt Enyx, but definitely hurt Xenos, was of course letting Madman run riot on the point itself.
Yeah, he does have them Valkyrie cams, which is... Valkyrie has been one of them picks for Shallow, where the outside particularly does show you as a defender where exactly the attackers are wanting to push in. If you do see them straight away spawning towards that cliffside area and rappelling up onto that balcony, you know it's going to be a master bedroom take. Equally, you get a camera outside on this west side of the building, and then you start seeing them push up here. Then you know they're going to try and take from the library side. So the Valkyrie cams do give a lot of early intel, and this time we are going to see them drones give a lot of early intel. The Whiskers, as the pre-fire shots do come out, and Madman has had to start to retreat already, and he has even put up a bit of a challenge inside that library.
Indeed he has, but only 30 seconds gone already. Quite a lot of pressure being applied. Going to get themselves into big garage. And get that Thatcher down as well, just to get rid of those mute jammers. They can get the breach in, just at this point more for the visibility than anything else. They aren't yet going to open it up and get themselves inside, although you imagine that is what their end goal will be.
I think that we've seen them double reinforcements on that big garage, which is something that we never see for a kitchen trophy, is to solely counter Kinders as a buck player. They know that Kinders as a buck can go upstairs or he can go downstairs, and maybe they are fearing the downstairs more, as of course they have the mirror window set up inside that trophy area, so the master bedroom buck spots aren't really a worry to them, but more or less the downstairs big garage is going to be that main area that Buck wants to get into and start exposing them anchors inside that trophy, which is the main way the Enyx are trying to defend, is defend the dining room and also the kitchen through the trophy.
Yeah, really going through it with those castle walls as well. And we've seen a lot of play around there previously where Madman's kind of been lurking in the corner. We've seen the ceilings getting opened up, the floors opened up, everything goes a bit crazy overall. And TW's going to get dropped by Enyx Blitz.
That is going to be, I believe, a quick peek from this Habana hole. He knows he has diffuser, so he knows that somebody will be knocking at his door very shortly, but hopefully Pranksy might be able to support him as well, as Pranksy does have access then to that window. As we do see more confrontations, as we do see Willis get the kill on the Havocs, as now he can start pushing in towards this dying. No barbed wire is going to slow him down, but instead he decides to back off and start rotating towards this kitchen window as well, as we do see Floki getting the kill on the Blitz. So Xenos getting the man advantage.
Find themselves in a good situation here, but Madman is always lurking. He's always ready. And like you say, that's a very interesting C4 going down. The thing is that is obviously, of course, you can hear the C4, but it depends whether or not someone blindly runs in to get that diffuser. They've got it. Goes to the explosion, but doesn't catch anyone with that C4. They walk away safely with the diffuser for now.
We do now see Willis being able just to have free range running in towards the bomb sites, as no barbed wire is going to slow him down. That's one thing about bringing these operators. Only one player can bring barbed wire on the lineup for Enyx, as now the hopes do lie on Madman to finish out this round. We've seen him do it before. Can he do it again? He sees a glimpse of the torso of Wangom. He is going to go for the tap shots. Gets the down diffuser. Is going to be there.
Nice
headshot takes him out. Let's see what he can go from here.
I feel here he probably should rotate. Trying to go to this hatch is just suicide, because you know that they're more than aware you're around this point. You need to make a move happen soon, though. You're lurking in the right kind of place. Has he seen the legs there, though?
I think he has the suspicion.
Is he going to try for the jump out here, potentially?
Yeah, he's going to go for it.
Will he be able to catch him with this, though?
No, he's going to go back inside. What a play from Whiskers.
Misses it, although the spray comes through and Madman will go down. Kinders has finally woken up, and he is saying, my team will not go quietly into the night. And we're going to go to the final round here on Chalet. Will Enyx be cursed forevermore? Or will they finally break said curse and brings us down to the 2-0?
Looking at the scoreboard there leading into our final round, it's going to be Floki with top kills for his team. That's the last person I would expect as the Thermite support main. That is interesting to see that a support player is doing a Slayer's job, for example. I think I think it was TW. I think he still is yet to get a kill as that, so that's another point to worry about, especially from a player who did put in quite a shift last week to not doing the best at this moment.
Jackal going to get picked up here for the final round by Enyx. Clearly wanted to make sure they don't get cheesed off by any roamers. Madman is back on his trusty Ash. So that to me says we mean business here. We want this 2-0 this week. We don't want to find ourselves being forced into another draw. And we played so well on the first map. Again, this is the team that went 5-0 on both of their first maps last week. Completely threw it away on Chalet. And our one round here potentially from doing exactly the same to Xenos.
Yeah, I feel as if that Xenos have definitely came alive. If they did this in the first round off Chalet, this could have potentially been Xenos' map. This could have been very easy for them to win if they played like this from the start. They didn't. They took time to warm up. Almost the same way that we've seen Evme. They took time to warm up after losing the first map. Then they started getting a bit of momentum behind them, and they did manage to take the win. But this time it's a lot closer than a 5-2 like we've seen last time. It comes down now to the 11th round, and it will be hard to say who will come out on top. I think the first blood is going to matter a lot here in this scenario.
I think if Kinders or Madman go down, then it definitely it tells you what the rest of the round generally is going to go like tempo-wise, because Madman is very, very mobile, as is Kinders. We saw him in the late roaming earlier on. And then the double back, which completely confused the side of Enyx and enabled them to win that round out. But if either of them go down early, it does remove a lot of that aggressive mobility that both teams are quite famed for, or both players are famed for in this case.
Yeah, so already Havoc's inside this bedroom area, starts to use that sledgehammer to its best of ability, starting... Whoa!
Hello.
That didn't even scratch him. That was
bizarre.
Yeah, to say the least. So, still doing work on that floor, which again, that's every Bucks and every Sledge's dream, is to get an upstairs hold ready just to start destroying. As we do also see Madman downstairs getting droned in by the rest of his support players, looking for these roamers, as it is going to be him and Kinders having this showdown. It seems to be an old bar showdown. Let's see who will come out on top in that.
It's High Noon. Who draws first wins. Yep. But of course, going to get some scouting help from Mac. Again, that very, very strong combo, which you always talk about, is Mac and Madman playing in each other's pockets. Today, Mac definitely playing a more supportive role than last week. Yeah. Not that it hasn't been working for them,
he's still
but
getting kills.
Yeah, absolutely so. But it's been a Madman week.
Yeah.
He's definitely shined this week, which is what we expected to see last week, but didn't really see to any great effect.
We've seen a small glimpse of what he could do. This week has definitely been his full potential. If they do see the first blood going Enyx's way, as that is going to be a Valkyrie down. I believe Valkyrie already did expend her C4, trying to get the kill on the Havoc's. But still, a one-man deficit for Xenos leading into this last minute. Make that a two-man.
So
Blitz gets the kill on the Kinders.
That's the big kill we were looking out for. It's Madman on Kinders first. In this case, it's him going down, and Willis is injured as well. This may as well be a 5 versus 2 at this point. Enyx have the advantage. Floki is trying to keep whatever angles he can, but the aggressors definitely looking aggressive in this case and starting to take the round away. Where is Madman is the big question. Lurking with Pranksy, they're all starting to close in, it feels like. Mac, as always, the trusty droner is going to get them the intel they need to go for this final push. Pranksy gets the kill into Willis as he was injured at 5 versus 2. This looks like it's going to be Enyx's game. There's 2 members left. Had to get one up who's injured. Both of them on low health here against almost full HP members on Enyx's side, and they are closing in.
So both of these defenders are going to be trapped inside this B bomb, the last place they want to be, especially whenever the rest of Enyx are going to start pushing in towards that kitchen area. Matt gets the kill, Blitz gets the kill, and we are going to see Enyx win 2-0 and take 6 points and go top of their group.
Great stuff overall by both teams, to be fair, and I almost feel for Xenos there because they definitely staged really good combat. Taking it down to the final round, that's big. However, Enyx just showing again why they are regarded as one of the favourites and looking incredibly strong.
Looking at Xenos, I think that they did play exceptionally well, especially in that last map. Not so much